I would say Bath is an unequal place. Um, I'm incredibly fond of Bath. I think it's an amazing city in so many ways, but I think there is a huge lack of equality, um, and I think that's a real problem for everybody. I don't think it's just a problem for the people who are kind of on the kind of direct end of it, you know, and suffering from issues around social deprivation. It's a problem for everyone. I mean, you look at the kind of consequences of things like health inequality, and the fact that people in Twerton are likely to die 9 years earlier than people who are born in Lansdowne. Even just a 10-minute bus ride away, those figures are starkly. I mean, they're horrific as far as I'm concerned, and the toll that kind of social deprivation takes on things like the NHS and stuff like that. If we're not equipping people with the skills and empowering them to take charge of their lives, get active, do things that are good for themselves and the community, that takes a toll on society as a whole, and unless you support people to find ways into employment or meaningful activity, it's inevitable that young kids might get mixed up with crime. And that obviously takes its toll on society. I mean, there are all kinds of things that you look at that it just makes sense for us to try and strive towards a more equal society, not just because it's right, but because it works for everyone. And I think it's shocking the extent to which not just the inequality exists, but that people don't realise it's there. They don't realise that 20% of children in Bath are living in poverty. And I think people live in a bubble to an extent. And, I've been very guilty of that. I've had a privileged upbringing and not spent a huge amount of time in the areas around Bath when I was growing up that really are suffering. And they're incredible places. They're still, thriving communities in many senses, but there are a lot of problems that I think we should be addressing.